And as many of my listeners know, some years ago now, I wrote the true story of Anita Dittman. Trapped in Hitler's hell, a young Jewish girl discovers the Messiah's faithfulness in the midst of the Holocaust. I wrote it for Tyndale House. It has gone into the hands of other publishers, and currently it's published by WorldNet Daily or WND.com. And they also have made it a 75-minute documentary, DVD, by filmmaker George Escobar. And this is a remarkably uplifting story of God's protection of Anita Dittman and her mother during the Holocaust. It's action-packed, it's inspirational, it puts everyone's trials in perspective. And in February, Anita received the Heroine of the Faith Award from Bott Radio Network at National Religious Broadcasters, and Anita and I were present at that. And this week I have read the screenplay for the projected film, which WorldNet Daily or WND hopes to have in theaters perhaps as soon as 2017. Writer, director, producer George Escobar is with me to share just a few minutes, and we'll give updates on this in the coming months and keep you apprised of raising the funds, etc. And George Escobar, welcome back to the program.
What an honor to be with you again, Jan.
George, apparently a distributor said that they would put up 50% of the funding. I know you need to raise more funds, and the other really stunning new event to me is that the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association met with Anita about the movie, and I was there, but I was not aware that they are considering this being their next film. Is that right?
It was pretty exciting being there with you and Anita and having the senior managers from Billy Graham Evangelistic Association hear the story straight from Anita. And afterwards, as an aside conversation, one of their senior VPs said, "You remember that we produced The Hiding Place back in 1975? And I said, absolutely. He goes, well, this could be, Trapped in Hitler's Hell could be their next film. So they're very interested in learning more, reading the script, and following up. So we're praying for that.
Whether that happens or not, my understanding is, and you have about 50% of the movie funded, and this takes millions, folks. It really does. And so even if Billy Graham Evangelistic Association were to get involved, you're still looking for funds, correct?
That's correct. Distributor who learned about the project at the convention at NRB said they would put up 50% of the funding upon script delivery and approval, and that we need to find the other 50%. But having a distributor already interested should help us find those investors, those distributors, and maybe international partners to come alongside and put up the rest of the money.
Well, I want to comment in just a minute on how listeners might get involved. And, Anita has uplifted people for over 35 years with her story. When people hear that this is a Holocaust story, I think they think that, it's going to be very negative. And I know that the purpose of this film is encouragement, and it's evangelism as well. I've read the screenplay, so I know it's encouragement. So how will you steer people's thoughts away from, let's just say for discussion here, the horror of the Holocaust to encouragement?
What's remarkable about Anita's story and what I found gripping and captivating when I read the book that you and Anita had written is the fact that, you have a young Jewish girl who comes to Christ. What a powerful story in itself. But then going through the fact that, Germany essentially gave up its liberty for safety. It's happening right now in this country and elsewhere, so it's very contemporary in that. But the fact that she is able to endure the ordeal and have the courage and the faith, it's very much like the film Unbroken, but it has that gripping sense of faithfulness and forgiveness that God is able to instill in Anita to carry her through. So it's very much like The Hiding Place. So it's a powerful combination that hasn't really been seen in a Holocaust story before. And I think people are going to find this a fresh look into what a Jewish Christian going through the Holocaust can bring to the forefront in today's world, because Anita still speaks about it, and it's more relevant now than ever.
Well, I would agree. I wrote this book, as we were talking before we were recording, back in 1979. I was just starting out in my writing career, and I didn't even have a computer back then, so I was researching by going to the library, etc., and how I wish I could be doing that. Such a story, and it's not a novel folks, it is a true story now with access to a computer. And you can get both the book and the DVD through Olive Tree Ministries as it exists now. It's just a year old from WND.com, WorldNet Daily. And it's Trapped in Hitler's Hell. A young Jewish girl discovers the Messiah's faithfulness in the midst of the Holocaust. That's the book. Or the 75-minute documentary, Olive Tree Views, views as in viewpoint, olivetreeviews.org. Just go to our store. And the film, I made a short companion DVD to go with it, When Government Becomes God, because as George indicated a minute ago, America's making the same mistakes Nazi Germany made. Back then, the German people decided to let government become God. They let Hitler become God. The consequences were unthinkable. And I see America doing the same thing, allowing government to become their God, take care of them totally. And as a result, you lose so much freedom. And we know the ultimate in a nation falling apart back in the 1930s and early 1940s happened because they let government become God. But it's Trapped in Hitler's Hell. Find it on my website. You can learn more information there or at WND.com, WND.com. And George, I think the important segment for this little interview is how can people get involved in this movie project, listeners, as they are hearing now?
Well, we're setting up a website that people will be able to sign up to be able to get updates. And as they hear this broadcast, we want people to begin to share the information about this project, talking about it to their friends, emailing them, just having them hear this broadcast. And then we'll also set up what's called a crowdfunding site that allows fans to be able to contribute to the movie, be able to get perks such as the DVD when the movie comes out, posters, maybe autographed copies of the book or script, and then at some levels even get invited to the movie set. So it's really getting people excited, not just about the movie, but things that they can do so that we maintain our liberty.
Well, you're hoping that this might hit the theaters as soon as spring 2017. Do you think that's a fairly accurate projection?
We are very hopeful that that can happen. So far, we've met all our deadlines.
Yes, you have.
So we need to get people really behind this. Once we get that website set up and the social media campaign behind it and get people to sign up and express their interest, we'll be able to take that to distributors and financiers and demonstrate that there's a demand for this movie.
But if a listener were to be really curious and more than that, feeling led of the Lord to participate, who would they contact?
Maybe they should send you emails that you can forward to me.
Yes, So write me, folks, Jan at olivetreeviews.org, Jan at olivetreeviews.org, or call the ministry here. You'll hear that number as we close the program if you have any interest whatsoever in being a financial partner in this. And George, I think one thing, and you emphasized this at my conference a year ago, and that is your interest in sort of keeping the Hollywood influence out of this production. Why don't you explain that?
It's critical that we maintain the integrity of the story, and the best way to do that is for people who believe in the story and who believe in the integrity of the story to finance it. Otherwise, Hollywood will sort of, twist it and turn it the way they want to, and we've seen the results of what they did with movies like Noah and Exodus.
Yes.
And we don't want that to happen with Trapped in Hitler's Hell, and we won't.
You have a character in mind. I don't know if this person's going to come through or not, even to play Anita Dittman. Is that right? I mean, you don't have to give the name, but you have someone that you would really like to see play that role.
Yeah, she's now a big star, so it'll be very difficult, but we can pray for her.
Okay, so she is a big star. I don't even know the name, but I might not know it if you gave it to me. But
as I was writing the screenplay and when I first read the book, the actress that came to mind is Jennifer Lawrence.
Okay.
She would be perfect for this part to play Anita.
Okay, I think Anita said she's about 5'8", and Anita's about 4'8", so that would be the only discrepancy. Anita was commenting on that at a banquet we shared recently here. George, you have any thoughts as we wind this down? I mean, I'm terribly, what can I say? I'm just moved beyond words. A pastor called me so many years ago and said, I've met someone who needs a book. Anita and I met together and we talked and we said, well, it'd be wonderful someday if this could appear on the screen. And of course, you have done that with the Trapped in Hitler's Hell documentary DVD, which is just stunning, totally stunning, folks. And it's just 75 minutes, so if you don't have time to read, you can get the documentary from olivetreeviews.org as well. But if you have any thoughts you want to wrap up.
My thoughts really are about God's providence and timing. So we need to pray continuously about what he wants to do and when he wants to do it. I think that he wants to make this movie now, and that's why we're getting some momentum behind it. But we need people who are listening to this broadcast to do something, and that is starts with an email to you. And I think just getting that collection of emails, flooding us will really help.